be capable of addressing certain types of risks themselves on their own, but they are inherently unequipped to deal with large shocks, like the head of a household falling ill, systemic shocks like big natural hazards, or multiple shocks that either come simultaneously or one after the other, like in Japan, an earthquake followed by a tsunami, which has been followed by a nuclear disaster. So these are very big risks for individuals or individual countries to handle on their own. But people can still manage risk sufficiently, effectively, if they actually share risk and risk management with others. And this is basically how we look at it, that we put people at the center and we consider all the economic and social systems ranging from household to the community to enterprise and financial system, the state and even the international community as part of a system or framework that help people manage risk. And all of them do in various different ways, but they complement each other doing it. So in a very complicated looking chart, what I want to mention is that people's risk management can be first helped by the household. Households are usually the first instant of support through family ties, by sharing, pooling the resources together, and protecting their members, the ill, the child, and the sick. But sometimes they may not actually do a very good job, especially if there is discrimination within the family, across the old, across women, for example. Or if the households are not having a very adequate access to markets or other families or other communities. The communities then come in order to provide informal type of risk-sharing arrangements. So by communities, we mean extended families and friends and so on. And they are usually good at helping people to manage idiosyncratic risks, or they can also manage a systemic risk by pooling resources together. But usually communities are also not very sufficient to deal with big, large shocks, and especially when preparation requires a long term of investment. Enterprise sector provides jobs and income, stable and growing levels of income to people, allow them to innovate and take the positive side of shocks. But sometimes they may not be able to do so because the enterprise sector is a formal sector. And many developing countries actually have people employed as self-employed. So they don't have the opportunity to share risks. And sometimes enterprises are not very good at providing protection to people and to the environment, like we have seen in Bangladesh, collapse of the factory and leading to the death of 1,100 or so people, or the oil spill in the ocean. Financial system provides tools for risk management, like insurance and credit and savings, but only to the extent that it manages the risks that it takes and retains properly. And if it does not do so, then the financial crisis results and they cannot really support the people's risk management. So all these systems can do a very good job in supporting people's risk management, but whenever there are these weaknesses that I have mentioned, the state has a role to play. And sometimes they can directly provide people ways to support their risk management through social protection, old age, or unemployment insurance or health insurance. And sometimes they do this very indirectly by providing an enabling environment for these other systems, household, communities, financial system, and so on, to help people's risk management. So there is an indirect and direct function that they perform. Of course, states have frequent failures too, either because of capacity constraints, because risks are too large for them, or because they don't have very good governance and they don't take very good decisions to protect their own people. And sometimes risks are just cross-border. One country cannot do a lot in order to save itself from climate change or other risks like that, or pandemics. In that case, we have the international community that comes in. An international community provides resources and expertise. It provides some tools for coordination for countries to come together and help implement rules that protect people. I'm going to go this very fast because of the interest of time, but all these things that I mentioned, they are already here, and I would really invite you to take a look at the report, which basically studies all these individual systems like household, communities, financial system, enterprise system, and the macroeconomy, providing all these supports to risk management to people, and whenever they do not, then how the system can contribute. So again, please don't even attempt to read this. This is a box in our report that basically provides all these policy recommendations of what the state can do or public policy can do in order to help each of these economic and social systems to help people. The underlying common element in all that is that we say that these risk management strategies need to be implemented in a strategic, systematic, proactive, and integrated fashion in order to basically optimize their effectiveness. And in order to achieve this, we recommend formation of a national risk board. And this national risk board can be established to incorporate risk management into the development agenda. And this kind of formation of a national risk board will involve a fundamental change in the way that many governments do business. And that basically means to take into account really seriously the change and uncertainty into their decision making and policy making. So the National Risk Board, we recommend basically is motivated by most of the time lack of coordination across different policy stakeholders in managing the risk. And that usually leads to insufficient, inadequate, inefficient use of very scarce resources. So we say that the National Risk Board should be formed either as a new agency that is created out of nothing, or by reforming some of the existing agencies. So depending on the context of the country, it may be different. But the idea is that this board that is formed, either as a new agency or from other agencies, considers risks, synergies, trade-offs across risks, and address them in differing contexts. So they prioritize across various different risks. This is especially important because many risks are interconnected. So consider, for example, the example of